and welcome to this presentation from the Juliet Hampton Morgan Memorial's Learning Garden. And we're going to talk about starting a garden today because besides the planning and the work that goes into starting a garden, there's another hurdle you have to cross. It takes a lot of funds to start a garden between the materials you needed and buying the plants themselves. So we're going to talk about starting a garden cheaply with plants you're already using because we are going to start a garden from scraps. And we're going to highlight this book, Regrow Your Vegetables. Now this book is not just about starting a garden cheaply, it also addresses the issue of food waste because when you're using vegetables or herbs or fruits, you don't always use all of the plant. There's usually something left over, and this addresses how you can make use so you're causing less waste, and it's overall, if you're interested in living greener and starting a garden inexpensively and just seeing how plants reproduce, I would definitely recommend you check out this book. So when talking about food waste, we often think of food that we don't use when we cook, but there is another type. Those vegetables that kind of get away from you, they hide in the corner, and then suddenly you realize you have an onion that looks like this or a potato that is growing. So we're going to, instead of just throwing this onion away because we can't eat it now, it's taken on a life of its own, we are going to cut it up and we're going to use it for growing more onions. So I'm just going to peel the outer layers of skin off, and there's actually two different ways you can restart an onion. If you've used it, you just put the roots in water and it will start to regrow, but since this one is sprouted, we're going to use a different way. So we're just getting the outer skin off so we can separate out all of our little sprouts into different parts. I've got a knife, I'm using that very carefully, but usually you can just peel off the skin that's keeping all these sprouts together, and then it will separate into all these different little bulbs. You are going to have to cut the roots so everyone gets some roots. You can see we've got all these different sections, and I'm going to cut the roots at the bottom and continue peeling and separating out these onions. And once I'm done peeling these onions, I'm going to keep them in wet paper towels, and then we're going to plant them in our learning garden. So we're going to separate out each one of our little sprouts, and you can see how it's got a stalk in that onion. And then once we get them all separated, they're going to be ready to go back into the dirt. But to make sure they stay safe and that they stay moist and they don't dry out, we're going to wrap them in a wet paper towel until we can get them in the ground. Now your little onions are ready to go into the ground to grow into big onions, and the hard part is ahead of you. You have to wait. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for this Learning Garden presentation. If you enjoyed this, please check out Regrow Your Vegetables for more tips and tricks on different ways you can regrow your vegetables and reduce your food waste. Also, stay tuned for more programs from our Learning Garden, and please stop by and check out the garden. It's at the Juliet Hampton Morgan Memorial Library downtown. It's going to be different every time you stop and look at it. Also, stay tuned for our garden club coming soon. Thank you guys so much, and happy growing.